3 weeks ago, Joe Biden murdered the Ahmadi family in Afghanistan. The Pentagon claims this was an accident and a mistake. But that is a lie, and I'm going to prove it to you in this video. On August 29th, the US carried out a drone strike in Kabul, killing 10 civilians of the Ahmadi family. 7 of them were children. Originally, they said it was an ISIS-K cell, but it quickly became clear that they had massacred an innocent family instead. We've known this now for weeks. So why is the Pentagon only admitting to it now? Very simply, it's because the media called them out on it. Which is great that for once the New York Times and CNN are all reporting on these things. It would be nice if this were the norm. Now, General McKenzie, who leads US Central Command, or US CENTCOM, issued what is probably the most scripted apology ever recorded. He says that he initiated an investigation within 24 hours of the strike, even though the Pentagon had immediately said after the strike that it knows of 0 civilian casualties. Why did they say that then, if they weren't sure, or if General McKenzie was just about to launch an investigation? Even the next day, when US CENTCOM said it was aware that civilians may have died, they still insisted that the strike was legitimate, and they were certain they had disrupted an imminent ISIS-K threat because of a secondary explosion. But there was no imminent threat, and no explosives. The drone had killed the family, and also happened to have hit a propane tank as well. McKenzie says that they reviewed the footage and saw obscure forms. What he means by that are children. But that they had only fired the shot because they were sure there would be no civilian casualties. McKenzie says that all day long they were following a car for 8 hours, and they were able to see 3 different men, where they were dropped off, and that 2 of them were carrying bags and jugs of water. How can you see bags and jugs of water, but you can't see 7 children? Now they're just obscure forms? Well, if the obscure forms or children were in the video, either they weren't watching properly, or they did see them and fired the missile anyway, thinking they could get away with murdering them if the target did turn out indeed to be a terrorist or not, and cover it up as they usually do. Now, McKenzie says it was a mistake, and the strike wasn't, quote, up to our standards. But these are their standards. This wasn't an isolated incident or an accident. This is what the United States has always been doing for the last 20 years. This is their war on terror. The US lies so much about who it kills, apparently it's killed the same people multiple times. Now clearly someone is being droned, but it obviously isn't the targets, it's innocent civilians. Let's consider Sirajuddin Haqqani, the deputy leader of the Afghan Taliban and head of the Haqqani network. America reportedly targeted him at least 4 times, once in 2008, 2009, and twice in February 2010. So that's 4 years they tried to get him with a drone. The second strike, they killed 12 people. The third strike, they killed 29 people. The fourth strike, they killed 4 people, including his brother, but again, not him. Do you want to guess where Mr. Siraj Haqqani is now? He is alive and well, serving as the interior minister in Afghanistan's new Taliban government. So the United States killed around 82 people trying to get him, all for him to wind up as interior minister. Another example is Baytullah Mahsood, head of the Pakistani Taliban, or Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. The CIA tried killing him in 2008. Instead, they killed someone else. The year after, they tried getting him again, but killed 4 other people instead. A month later, they killed more than 30 people, still not Mahsood. 2 months later, they killed 10 others. The United States has killed so many people trying to get him that it's actually too long for me to list all of the attacks and deaths to you. The United States even targeted a funeral on purpose because they thought he was attending. They committed a massacre at this funeral, killing 80 people. And finally, in August 2009, the CIA managed to kill him, but only after murdering close to 200 people. Another person targeted by the US is Qari Hussain, a senior commander in the Pakistani Taliban. Around 130 people were killed trying to get him. So hundreds of dead civilians just to get one guy? Clearly, these are the standards that General McKenzie was talking about. So tell me, who is the bigger terrorist now? And these are just some of the drone strikes we know about. Just imagine what the real list looks like. You know, Obama called them precision strikes. They are anything but precise. Obama used to publish figures about how the drone program works, with suspiciously low numbers of civilian deaths. And when the real numbers were leaked by whistleblower Daniel Hale, who's now in jail, it turns out, for example, during a 5-month period, 90% of the people killed by drones were civilians. And even when they say that they've killed a quote-unquote terrorist, What qualifies as a terrorist? The United States considers any male above the age of 15 to be a terrorist. So what kind of criteria is that? Even now, when General McKenzie is talking about how they were surveying this car for 8 hours and they saw 3 males. What, that's it? You saw 3 males? The only criteria for being a terrorist is being an adult male in a Muslim country? How can you indiscriminately murder civilians and then call them terrorists to cover it up? What does that make you? There were so many civilians being killed that the United States straight up stopped counting them because anyone could see how devastating and unprecise the quote-unquote precision strikes were. The Trump administration canceled the reports altogether, but we know for a fact that he increased the number of drone strikes. And if almost all the casualties are civilians, what does that tell you? Also consider this. Even if there were no civilian casualties, right? Who gave the United States the right to assassinate people on another country's soil? Would America tolerate someone else dropping bombs on American soil? What happened to due process? You just kill people without trial? This is nothing short of mass murder. Just imagine the reaction if a foreign government murdered an American family on American soil. You would never hear the end of it. And it's nice that for once the mainstream media decided to do their jobs and hold the government accountable. But imagine how many other deaths we don't know about because the media abdicated their duty to the truth and helped the government cover up the murders.